Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. So I just read something in an article that just blew my mind and I had to share it with you guys. So one of my favorite cars of all times is the 90s model Toyota Supra, especially the twin turbo version. That 2JZ engine was amazing. It was so stout. You could put so much horsepower in that. There's people running 1,000, 1,100 horsepower on stock internals, and it's just a beast and it's holding up. Why they didn't put that engine in the new Supra, I will never understand, but that is such an iconic car. That being said, they have went astronomical in price. I mean, it is crazy how expensive those cars have become as of late. And that is what this story is about. So a little back history. I love those cars. I almost bought two of them. They were both non-turbos. One of them was red with like 24,000 miles. The other one was black, and I think it had 68,000 miles. Is what I think. As best of my knowledge, I think it had 68,000 miles on it. Didn't buy neither one of them. There was a twin turbo I looked at, and it had a salvage title, and I just couldn't get past the salvage title. It wouldn't have been worth nowhere near what these cars are, so it probably wasn't a big deal. But this is about the car that sold at the Amelia Island car auction. I think it was this past weekend or a couple weekends ago. It was a 94 twin turbo Supra Targa. Most of those were Targas. The top would come off. Both of them I looked at were Targas. Now, the reason people love these cars so much is because I believe the 2JZ had like some forged internal parts that were like really, really strong. And people would take like the sequential twin turbos off those and put like one huge monster single turbo. And then, like I said, produce like 11 or 1,200 horsepower. It would just take that abuse over and over and over, and it would just run all day long. I mean, it's one of the most iconic engines ever produced. Fast and Furious made that car. Now, the ones I looked at was probably prior to Fast and Furious even coming out. That dates me how old I am. I guess that movie did help make that a grail car for a lot of people. But back to this story. So this car we're talking about currently is a black manual, which one of them I looked at was a manual, one of them was automatic. 1994 Toyota Supra twin turbo Targa that had 11,200 miles on it. I thought my Mustang had low miles. A 94 with just barely over 11,000 miles is immaculate. This car, from what I could tell in the pictures and from what I could tell by reading it, looked like it just came off the showroom floor. It just set a record sale for Toyota Supras. Now again, this is a 94 model. It sold for $173,600. Now, I think these cars had like 320 or 322 horsepower. So we're not talking about supercar status here. You could get them to supercar level. I would guarantee that this car will never be built in any way, shape, or form. This is just a taste of what I feel like is to come of these cars. If this car is hitting almost $74,000 now, in 10 years, this car is probably be hitting $250,000 to $300,000. I mean, it's crazy how fast these things have grown in value. To give you an idea, just a few months ago, I believe it was, there was a red one sold for $121,000. So you've jumped from $121,000 from a few months ago to $173,000 a few months later. I don't know how fast these things will go up in value, but I know that I've seen some online that I thought was expensive for like 80-some thousand dollars that had 1,000 horsepower. But apparently, that's not a drop in the bucket. So a little bit of back history on this car. I did see a little bit of back history. He said they got it from a Carfax. It originally sold in Illinois. They said it remained there for a couple years and accumulated like 6,000 miles. So this person that originally bought it, they drove it a little bit, from my understanding from reading the article. Then about a year ago, it was imported into Switzerland. Now, I don't know what happened between the original seller and the person that got in Switzerland. That was a lot of years in between. It didn't go into those details, but it was actually imported into Switzerland. And I'm assuming that's where the car was sold from, because that's the last thing it had to say about where the car's location was at. Now, I want to give you a little bit of back history on these cars and what I think happened to them. So, just for reference, in 1994, you could buy a non-turbo for about $35,800. Now, that's a non-turbo plain Jane Supra. Not plain Jane. The cars look the same. It just didn't have the big engine in it. You could buy the turbo version for $42,800. Think about that for a minute. In 1994, this car new was $42,800, almost $43,000. That is essentially almost within like $1,000 of what my 07 Roush Mustang GT cost new. Now, I know the Roush is not a turbo Supra. I get that. This, the horsepower and stuff is close, but Supras are iconic. Mustangs are iconic too, but not Supra iconic level. But I just want to give an instance. A Roush Mustang in 07 was $1,000 more than a turbo Supra in 94. In 96, that same Supra cost $50,400. Now, they discontinued production of the Supra in like 1998, and I'm thinking they were somewhere around $54,000 or $55,000 for the turbo model in like 1998. What I think happened to the Supra, along with a lot of other cars in that generation, you had your twin turbo 300ZX, your VR4 3000 GT, and, a couple other cars that were turboed like the RX-7. I think they priced these cars out of the market for their time frame. Who, in 1994 or 98 or in the 90s, let's say, was really going to buy a $50-some thousand car? I mean, you had to be a doctor or a lawyer or just somebody that just had a lot of money to be able to afford a $50-some thousand car in the 90s, because, people didn't make the money they make now. You buy a truck now, you're probably going to pay in the $50-some thousand range for it. I mean, that's just the way it is. That is the norm now. But going with that, people make more money now than they did in 1994. At my job, I started in 97. I had a good job for my area in 97. I still work there, and I see how much more people that work there now make than I started making when I first started working there. So people make a lot more money now. So people just couldn't afford these cars. So I think they priced themselves out of the market. Now, that being said, if you would have had the foresight to see what was going to happen, you could have really buckled down and maybe bought one of these cars used with low miles on it and had a $173,000 car, 20 some years later, 25 years later, who would have thought that car had been worth $173,000? It would have been worth. If I could have seen the future to see that car would be worth that, I would have one for sale right now. But I wanted to get on here and tell you all about this car because I thought that was amazing that car brought that much money. I mean, I'm just flabbergasted that a Toyota Supra just brought as much as you can buy new Ferraris for. I mean, that is amazing to me. And it's not even supercar status. Yeah, it's amazing to see one out. You don't see them a lot. But when you see one, it's like, man, there's a Supra. You don't have people flock around it to take pictures. But if you see like an Aventador, which is still, it's like 200 some thousand. That's a bad example. If you see like a Ferrari, people go over there and take pictures of it because it's a supercar. It just blows my mind that a non-supercar just brought this much money. Tell me what you think in the comments. Is the Toyota Supra, the 90s model Toyota Supra in this kind of condition, really worth this much money now? I don't think so. I love that car. It's one of my favorite cars ever produced. I still don't think it's a $173,000 car. Let me know what you think in the comments. I appreciate you watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.